The cabin had only one bed. Then the heater broke best friends to lovers. The weather report had warned about a snowstorm, but no one expected it to arrive so fast, so violently, or so completely that it would erase every road, every landmark, and almost every certainty two people had about their lives. What was supposed to be a peaceful weekend getaway became a night that neither of them would ever forget. A tiny wooden cabin hidden deep in the mountains held only one bed, a dying fireplace, and one secret that had been waiting years to be spoken. Before dawn arrived, their friendship would either survive forever, or disappear beneath the cold. Before we begin, if you believe that kindness deserves a second chance, that true friendship is one of life's greatest gifts, and that love often arrives when we least expect it, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment sharing where you're watching from, share this story with someone special, and subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories that stay with you long after they end. Emma had known Noah for almost 12 years. They had met during their first week of college when they accidentally reached for the same library book. What started as an awkward apology slowly became shared study sessions, late-night coffee runs, graduation celebrations, career advice, birthday traditions, and countless ordinary moments that somehow became unforgettable because they experienced them together. Friends and family constantly teased them, insisting they would eventually become a couple, but they always laughed it off. Life had simply placed them in different relationships over the years, different cities, and different chapters. Somehow, despite every change, their friendship remained the one thing that never disappeared. When Emma's photography business began struggling after losing several major clients, she found herself emotionally exhausted. Noah noticed the sadness she tried so hard to hide behind her smile. As an architect who spent most of his days designing beautiful homes for strangers, he realized his best friend had forgotten how to find beauty in her own life. He surprised her with a weekend trip to a mountain cabin he had rented months earlier. His only intention was simple. He wanted Emma to breathe fresh air, forget deadlines, and remember who she was before disappointment convinced her she wasn't enough. The drive toward the mountains felt wonderfully familiar. They sang old songs from college, laughed at terrible jokes they had repeated for years, argued playfully about whose music taste had gotten worse, and stopped for coffee at a roadside cafe where the elderly owner remembered Noah from a previous trip. The entire journey felt effortless, the kind of comfort that only exists between people who have witnessed each other's highest victories and deepest failures. By late afternoon, snowflakes drifted gently from the gray sky. Neither of them worried. Snow in the mountains was beautiful. It was part of the experience. Everything changed within an hour. The gentle snowfall transformed into an aggressive storm. Thick white sheets swallowed the road ahead, visibility nearly disappeared, and the forest became a silent maze. Noah gripped the steering wheel while Emma quietly searched for directions, but the phone signal vanished completely. When they finally reached the cabin, relief washed over them like warmth after a long winter walk. The cabin stood alone among towering pine trees covered in fresh snow, its windows glowing softly against the darkness. It looked like something from an old storybook. Inside, however, reality quickly interrupted the fantasy. The cabin was much smaller than either of them expected. There was a tiny kitchen, a narrow bathroom, a fireplace, a worn sofa, and one bedroom containing only a single bed. They looked at each other before laughing. Of course this would happen. After years of perfectly avoiding every awkward situation imaginable, life had suddenly placed them inside one. Neither wanted the other to feel uncomfortable. Noah immediately volunteered to sleep on the couch, while Emma insisted the bed belonged to him because he had driven through the storm. They argued politely for nearly 10 minutes before finally agreeing that they would figure something out after dinner. Outside, the wind screamed against the walls. Inside, the cabin felt peaceful. They cooked pasta together using whatever ingredients they found in the pantry left by previous guests. They lit candles, played old card games, and shared stories they somehow had never told despite knowing each other for over a decade. Emma admitted she still carried a notebook filled with dreams she had been too afraid to pursue. Noah confessed that success at work often felt strangely empty because he had spent so much time building houses that he had forgotten how to build a meaningful life for himself. The conversation became quieter. More honest. More vulnerable. Perhaps it was the storm outside that made the silence feel safe. Then, just before midnight, the heater stopped working. At first they assumed it was temporary. Noah checked every switch, every thermostat setting, every fuse he could find. Nothing happened. The warmth inside the cabin faded surprisingly fast. The fireplace, beautiful as it looked, struggled against the freezing air leaking through tiny cracks in the old wooden walls. The temperature dropped lower with every passing minute. Snow continued falling. The roads were completely blocked. No help was coming before morning. Emma wrapped herself in every blanket she could find, but her hands continued trembling. Noah noticed the color leaving her face. The couch offered almost no insulation from the cold floor beneath it. Finally, practicality defeated embarrassment. The only way to stay warm through the night was to share the bed beneath every blanket available. Neither spoke much after making the decision. There was nothing romantic about survival. Or at least that was what they kept telling themselves. The room remained silent except for the relentless wind outside. Lying only inches apart felt strangely unfamiliar despite years of friendship. They had hugged countless times after heartbreaks, celebrated promotions together, cried at family funerals, and comforted one another through life's worst moments. Yet somehow sharing that tiny bed revealed just how carefully they had always protected invisible boundaries neither fully understood. Emma stared at the ceiling. Noah listened to the storm. Neither could sleep. Hours passed before Emma quietly admitted she had almost canceled the trip because she didn't want Noah to see how much she had been struggling financially. She confessed that losing clients had shattered more than her business. It had destroyed her confidence. Every rejection convinced her she wasn't talented enough. Noah listened without interrupting. Then he admitted something he had hidden for years. Every time Emma dated someone, he convinced himself he was happy for her while secretly wondering what life might have looked like if he had found the courage to tell her how he truly felt. He never spoke because their friendship meant too much to risk losing. Watching her happy from a distance always seemed better than risking never seeing her smile again. The confession lingered in the quiet room. Emma slowly turned toward him. Tears filled her eyes, not because she was shocked, but because she realized she had spent years asking herself the exact same question whenever Noah introduced someone new into his life. Fear had protected them from rejection. It had also protected them from happiness. Outside, the storm continued raging. Inside, something much older than the storm finally began melting. Morning arrived beneath a pale gray sky. The snowfall had stopped, but the roads remained buried under several feet of snow. They would have to stay another day until emergency crews cleared the mountain pass. For the first time in years, neither of them felt the need to pretend. They spent the day making pancakes over the fireplace, reading old novels left on dusty shelves, taking photographs of snow-covered trees sparkling beneath the returning sunlight, and laughing about how an ancient heater had managed to accomplish what 12 years of friendship never could. Yet love rarely arrives without testing itself. That afternoon Emma received an email informing her that a prestigious photography agency in another country wanted to interview her for a dream opportunity she had applied for months earlier. The position would require relocating thousands of miles away. At almost the same moment, Noah received confirmation that his company wanted him to lead the biggest architectural project of his career, one that would keep him rooted in the city for several years. The timing felt painfully cruel. They had barely discovered their feelings before life threatened to separate them again. Neither wanted the other to sacrifice lifelong dreams. Love, they both believed, should never become a prison. The drive home the following day remained quieter than the trip into the mountains. Not because they regretted anything. Because reality had returned. Over the next several weeks, they encouraged one another exactly as they always had. Noah helped Emma prepare an extraordinary photography portfolio. Emma spent evenings reviewing Noah's architectural presentations before important meetings. Neither mentioned choosing love over ambition. Neither asked the other to stay. Then something unexpected happened. Emma attended the international interview virtually and discovered the agency admired not only her photography but also her storytelling. During the conversation they revealed they were opening a regional creative division much closer to home and wanted someone capable of leading it. At nearly the same time, Noah's company decided to redesign their project using remote collaboration with several regional offices, giving him flexibility he never imagined possible. Life had not demanded impossible sacrifices after all. It had only demanded patience. Months later, during the first snowfall of the following winter, Noah invited Emma back to the same cabin. The owner had renovated it. There was now a brand new heating system. There were 2 bedrooms. And yet neither of them even looked at the second one. Standing outside beneath gently falling snow, Noah smiled as he held up an old photograph Emma had taken during that unforgettable weekend. It showed nothing extraordinary, just 2 steaming mugs resting beside a frosted window, but somehow it captured everything they had been unable to say at the time. He realized love had never arrived because of one bed. Or because the heater broke. It had existed quietly inside thousands of ordinary moments long before either of them recognized it. The storm had simply removed every distraction until the truth became impossible to ignore. Years later, whenever friends asked how their love story began, they always laughed before answering that technically it started in a freezing cabin with terrible heating. But deep inside they both knew that wasn't entirely true. It started with loyalty. It grew through kindness. It survived because 2 best friends spent years choosing each other even before they realized they were in love. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in true friendship, leave a comment telling us what part moved you the most, and subscribe for more emotional stories that remind us that hope is never far away. Special request: before this story ends, please write the words, "True friendship becomes the strongest love," in the comments if you believe the best relationships are built on years of trust and kindness. As snow gently covered the little cabin once again, the mountains stood silent, keeping safe the memory of one impossible night that changed 2 ordinary lives forever. Sometimes life doesn't need grand miracles to rewrite our future. Sometimes all it takes is one storm, one broken heater, one tiny cabin with only one bed, and the courage to finally stop hiding the love that has quietly been waiting beside us all along. And perhaps that is the most beautiful truth of all, that the greatest love stories are rarely about finding the right person. They are about finally recognizing that the right person has been walking beside you through every season, patiently waiting for your heart to catch up.